Hey there, sports fans. Last night was Wrestlemania 35 at the MetLife Stadium in New York slash New Jersey. And it was a whole lot of fun. It was a very long event. It was over 7 hours. I believe the count was 16 matches, which was just insane. I know the crowd was tired at the end. I know I was tired. But all in all, I have to say this was probably one of the most predictable yet safe WrestleManias I've ever seen. No major swerves. But anyway, let's go through the matches. Um, all the way from the kickoff show to the very end. And I'll give you my personal take on each one and, some random thoughts along the way. So the first match during the kickoff show was Bertie Murphy versus Tony Nese. And I have to admit, I did not watch 205 live as often as I should. Unfortunately, that brand is just not getting the attention that it used to or that it deserves. I believe there's a lot of talent there that is underutilized, and unfortunately, WWE has an insane amount of talent, and they're not able to devote enough time to everybody. And 205 gets the short end of the stick. So for WrestleMania, we get two of the guys of the entire roster for WrestleMania, and it's on the kickoff show. Anyway, this match was actually pretty good between Buddy Murphy and Tony Nese. A lot of good high spots, well paced match. And in the end, Tony Nese won the Cruiserweight Championship. Like I said, it was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I wish 205 could find its own niche within the WWE universe, maybe their own pay per view or something along the way. And hopefully, WWE will give them the attention they deserve. So, next up was the Women's Battle Royal. And unfortunately, I have to say this was probably a huge letdown. It was a huge mess. Just a side note, Nikki Cross, her whole shtick of being crazy and insane, it just doesn't work for me. It comes off as silly, comes off as just very corny. She goes in there and she just acts like she's insane, and everybody else just kind of looks at her and it's not even intimidating. And then next they show her chasing after, I believe it was Maria Kanellis or whatever, and that just it looks stupid. It just does not give me any enjoyment whatsoever. The battle royale itself was okay. We got to see some decent spots from Asuka, from Kairi Sane, from Ember Moon. It's nice to see her back from her injury. Uh, but at the same time, there was just a lot of other things that just looked, botched, kind of messed up. And with all this talent, I wish there could have been just a little bit of a better storyline here. One of the things that really annoyed me here is, Ruby Riot and the Riot Squad is one of the most underutilized talent in the entire women's division, and WWE even made it even more annoying because at the end we had Asuka, Sarah Logan, and I forget the third person off the top of my head. But in the end, oh, Sonya Deville, and Sonya Deville's been getting a minor push, and Asuka's been getting a push, but we never really saw a lot from Sarah Logan. But then at the end, Sarah Logan is one of the final two with her and Asuka, and we see some pretty decent near misses with Sarah Logan, and they made us think she might be getting a push, and then all of a sudden she loses to, of all people, Carmella, and Carmella, is the winner. Now, I know she's the hometown girl, but we've already seen her get the push several times with the Money in the Bank and all that. She's already been a champion. It's about time to let one of the other ladies know, and I really wish Sarah Logan could have gotten that spot. So anyway, yeah, incredibly disappointing there. Next, and I think this is probably one of the most annoying things about the WWE, is we had a Raw Men's Tag Team Championship match between the Revival, one of the best tag teams out there, incredibly good talent, versus Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. Now, nothing against Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins, but this was set up so quickly and so incredibly mismanaged that WWE didn't even give these guys their own preview page, graphic, or anything. So I'm kind of having to give you this page instead, this picture. But I don't know what the revival has done to kind of, piss off Vince or whatever. But anyway, in the end, they ended up losing to Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins. And this is Kurt Hawkins' officially first win after, I think, 269 losses. Um, Granted, I wish, these guys, the best of luck. I know Zack Ryder's been underutilized and has, really had a chance to be successful in a WWE for a long time. And, Curtis Hawkins at the same time, just probably deserves a little bit more of a push. But I don't think, WrestleMania was the platform for that. And like I said, at the same time, the Revival really deserves a lot more. They're one of the best tag teams out there. I wish they were treated with a little bit more respect by the WWE. So next, Andre the Giant Battle Royal. Now, this one was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it a little bit, probably because I do like, Michael Che and Colin Jost from Saturday Night Live. But at the same time, it kind of took away, the importance of the match. And, with Braun Strowman, you really aren't going to get much of a battle royal. You're going to get a bunch of spots, and then Braun Strowman throw a lot of people out. And I have to give props out there to Heath Slater and I think Mustafa Ali. Those guys, I think there was something on the side of the ring on the barriers where it looks like Heath Slater might have hit one of them, and I hope he's okay. And in another case where Mustafa Ali was being suplexed out of the ring and then, kicked by Braun Strowman, as he bounced, off the ground, his face hit one of the announcer's tables. And I really hope he's okay because, I don't know, it looked like it hurt. And those announcers' tables, I know they like to keep them pretty close to the rings for the high spots and all that. But sometimes those things, I have a feeling somebody's going to get seriously hurt off of one of those tables in the future, the way these spots are going nowadays. But anyway, in the end, we saw Colin Jost and Michael Che end up being the final two with Braun Strowman. And I have to give props out to Colin Jost, who was willing to be launched out of the ring. And I have to be thankful that all those wrestlers were there to catch him. Obviously they were there for a reason, but, good. It's all in good fun. Also, props out to Colin Jost for trolling the entire New York audience by wearing the Cleveland Browns jersey of Odell Beckham Jr. That made me laugh for quite a while as he walked to the ring. That was perfect. Alright, so WrestleMania has officially started. Alexa Bliss comes out, introduces the immortal Hulk Hogan, and while they're doing a pose off, walks through Paul Heyman, and he makes a beeline directly to the ring. And I don't remember him doing his usual, this is Paul Heyman shtick, but he basically demands that his match with Brock Lesnar starts now. So sure enough, to start off WrestleMania 35, we have the Raw Universal Championship match between Brock Lesnar and Seth Rollins. Now, as Seth is walking to the ring, Brock Lesnar starts to beat the holy hell out of him. And, this is reminiscent of previous matches where, these guys, are getting killed by Brock Lesnar. And I had a bad feeling, because once this was happening, I kind of knew that how the ending was going to go. And sure enough, after minutes of watching Brock Lesnar do his thing on Seth Rollins, he's throwing him all around the announcers' tables and all around the ring and giving him F5s on the ground and everything. Sure enough, Seth Rollins gets some offense going, gets three, and then he does a low blow, which is corny as hell, gets 3 curb stomps, gets the pin, it's over. In the end, that really wasn't much of a match. It was more of a, a beatdown prior to the match, and then a low blow, which I'm not a huge fan of. It's being way overused, and then a finishing move over. I didn't really enjoy the match at all. I'm glad Seth Rollins won the championship. It was a um, safe ending, but in the end, not a very good match. If I were to give it the proverbial, stars, I would definitely give that one, 2.5 stars. So the second match of the night, and this one is actually one that had a little bit of my interest. It was the phenomenal AJ Styles versus the Viper Randy Orton, and this one had a bit of a decent storyline. Unfortunately, we only had a few weeks of this storyline, but I have a belief that they could have really built this up for the past few months. From SummerSlam to Royal Rumble, between the whole indie and scene, and Randy Orton being in WWE the entire time. This could have been an event that could have been built up, and it could have generated a lot more interest. But since they only did it over a few weeks, this match just didn't have the investment that it should have. And so, not to say it was a bad match. In fact, it had a lot of decent spots, good pacing between the two. A lot of times Randy Orton was trying to get the RKO, didn't. And in all honesty, I was guessing that Randy Orton would eventually win. But needless to say, phenomenal forearm. AJ Styles got the win. Over. Done. Next was the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team Championship match between the Usos, The Bar, Rusev and Shinsuke Nakamura, and Ricochet and Aleister Black. Now, a lot of folks were thinking that Ricochet and Aleister Black would win. I didn't really think so, simply because they're still relatively new. I mean, they've only been on the main roster for a couple of months, and they're already in WrestleMania. That's a lot for them already. Uh, I was thinking the Usos was going to win just for all the other potential title changes, so I figured the Usos would retain. Needless to say, I was right. Decent match with all four teams getting excellent spots. Excellent tag team match. I have to give shout out to Ricochet because there was a lot of rumors that he was hurt after his match on NXT TakeOver. But he went out there, looked like he didn't miss a beat, that hadn't lost a step. So, hey, hats off. If you were injured, Ricochet, go get some rest. But chances are we'll see you on Raw the next day. And but yeah, good match and good finish. Good ending, good finish. All right, next we had Miz versus Shane McMahon, and I have to say, of all the matches, I just was not invested in this one at all. With the whole Miz and his dad and Shane, and all that. I got it, but it just did nothing for me. This match itself, I thought, went on a little bit longer than it needed to be. And then, we had Miz's dad in the ring, but we knew he wasn't going to really do anything. He took a few shots from Shane, yada, 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 move on. And of course, no WrestleMania match with Shane McMahon can be complete without a high spot. So eventually they end up outside of the ring, fighting in the stands. They eventually end up climbing a scaffolding, near a cameraman. Miz, does a suplex with Shane off the top. Awesome suplex, very well done. And somehow Shane gets the pin. And sure enough, Shane's the winner. I have to say, I really didn't think too much of this match. I'll give it 3 stars. Moving on. We have many more to go. Next was the women's Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match between Bayley, Sasha Banks, the Iconics, Nia Jackson, Tamina, and Beth Phoenix and Natalya. And I have to say, I enjoy the Boss and Bayley. They're a good tag team match. But there's something about the Iconics that I have a soft spot for. They're not the best workers, but they are serviceable. And they just, I don't know, They've got something in my heart. Anyway, I had the slightest thought that they could probably win, but I didn't think it was going to happen here. I figured, maybe, just maybe, Nia Jax and Tamina would win, and they would be a dominant force, for the next few months or whatever. But all in all, in the end, it was the Iconics. And I have to give it props. It was a decent, well done match. Those guys have been winning for the past few weeks. They've been getting a push, and the crowd likes them. And seems they have a lot more fans than I realized. So we have new tag team champs, and they're gonna be quite funny over the next few weeks. All right, so here we are, the match of the night. It's for the Universal Heavyweight, not the Universal, the Heavyweight Championship title between Kofi Kingston and Daniel Bryan. Now, I will have to admit, Kofi Mania is real. I was under the impression that with all these weeks of Kofi, getting screwed over, that it was going to happen one more time. And instead of it being from Mr. McMahon, it was going to be the ultimate swerve, and that it was going to happen from one, if not both members of the New Day. And I felt even more secure with my belief when Big E came down to the ring with a box saying he had a gift for Kofi Kingston. And I figured it would be something, like I said, for the swerve, and New Day would go heel, and Kofi Kingston would have to, live and fight another day. But, alas, I was wrong. The crowd was hot for Kofi. The crowd was insane for Kofi. It was a nice, long, good match with decent spots. I mean, you can't ask for anything more from Daniel Bryan and for Kofi Kingston. Best match of the night. I have to give it 4.5 stars. And in the end, Kofi got the pin, and he is now the new heavyweight champion for WWE. But what was even more surprising, other than Kofi bringing his sons out, everybody crying, everybody teary-eyed, was that, not only did they toss out the, earth-friendly belt and brought out a new, leather-strapped metal belt for Kofi, was that in the box that Big E had for Kofi was brand new merch showing Kofi in the New Day with the championship. And not only was it brand new merch, but it was immediately available for sale on the WWE shop that night. Yeah, you can't tell me this isn't pre-planned. The merch was already printed out and was available for sale. Oh my word. Sometimes these guys get me. Anyway, well-deserved, Kofi. You are the man tonight. So, unfortunately, there has to be a match after the Kofi Kingston-Daniel Bryan match where the crowd was insane, but now the crowd has died down. And it was Samoa Joe versus Rey Mysterio. Now, I heard rumors that Rey Mysterio was hurt, and that there was a chance that this match wasn't even going to go. But it did. But it was a quick match where Samoa Joe was able to get the coquina lock on Rey pretty quickly and ended up having him go out. Quick match, only a few minutes. I would have to give this probably a 2.5 stars. And like I said, chances are Rey was hurt and he just was able to go in and put him over. What I found strange was that all these weeks we kept seeing scenes of Dominic, being involved, who is Rey Mysterio's son, but he was nowhere to be seen in this match. So that was a strange build-up over the weeks with no payoff. So I wonder if they're going to bring that up in the upcoming weeks. So next, we had Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre. And this one was kind of strange because I understand Roman Reigns had just gotten back from cancer treatment from leukemia. And, it would be very hard for him to come back and have him lose. But at the same time, WWE has been pushing Drew McIntyre for the past few months as this unstoppable force. And so I really thought that Drew McIntyre was going to win this one. He had been getting some good wins against Dean Ambrose. But unfortunately, this match, went on for quite a while between the two. But it wasn't to be. Roman Reigns got the pin. He's the winner. And, that was pretty much it. It was an average match. Nothing special. So I'll give it 3 stars. Alright, so one of the more humorous moments of the night, we had Elias. And I don't care what anybody says. I love Elias. He gets the crowd going. Crowd loves him. And, he's got okay wrestling talent. But he can get the crowd going in a minute. And so he's out there performing. And lo and behold, who should show up and interrupt him? The doctor of thugonomics, John Cena. I don't know if this is a permanent heel turn or what, but he comes out all decked out in his old swag from many years ago. Has the chain necklace, coming out. He's got the Reebok pumps. This is crazy. And he comes out and busts out some freestyle on Elias, says a bunch of craziness. And then in the end, he hits him with a couple of pops, hits him with a AA or STFU or whatever. And the crowd goes nuts. And, John Cena leaves. It wasn't even a match. It was just a little bit of a segment for, people to get up, stretch the legs, go get some more popcorn, another hot dog, go use the bathroom, But it was a whole lot of fun. But, strangely enough, I thought it was interesting that, for a guy from Boston, he came out wearing Yankee gear. And, not sure, why that happened. Especially with the graphic before he came out talking about Boston. So, anyway, thought that was a little bit of a faux pas. But it's still kind of fun. So, moving on. Alright, next, Triple H and Batista in a no-holds-barred match. And I have to admit, this match was kind of crazy, got brutal. And, I mean, when I say crazy, you had Triple H pulling out tools and pliers and yanking out nose rings. And, it was a lot of cringy moments in that match. But it was a whole lot of fun. 2 old guys, just about either almost in their 50s or in their late 40s. And I have to admit, Batista, has 3 movies coming out this year. So he's got a good acting career going on. So he's got to play it safe in order to, keep his film career going. So you knew there wasn't going to be anything too insane. But in the end, we had Ric Flair show up out of nowhere, not sure where he was, to give Triple H his sledgehammer. And sure enough, he was able to use it against Batista and get the win. So Triple H, his wrestling career is still intact. And once again, he's gotten himself over. So whatever. I give it a 2.5-star match. It was something that really didn't need to happen. Even Triple H's entrance was, it was okay, but it was kind of lackluster. But anyway, until next year. So, next we had Kurt Angle versus Baron Corbin. A lot of folks thought that John Cena was going to be part of this match simply because there's a huge hatred for Baron Corbin. But at the same time, Baron Corbin deserves his spot. He has done his job and done his job well as being a heel. He has okay talent. Probably could be a little bit better. But with this being Kurt Angle's final match, it was pretty much written in stone that he was going to lose. So, we were hoping for maybe a better match, but unfortunately with the limitations of Kurt Angle's movement, it wasn't going to be a match that Kurt Angle used to be able to do. He's very limited in his movement. He's a lot older. And he's just not as flexible as he used to be. So, in the end, the match pretty much was going to be what it was going to be, unfortunately. And in the end, Baron Corbin got the win. But at least Kurt Angle was able to walk out, with his head held high, the crowd loving him, and he deserves all the accolades he can get. So here's to you, Kurt Angle. So this match annoyed me greatly between Finn Balor and Bobby Lashley, simply because that it was booked incredibly wrong. Now, in this case, it was announced on Monday that we were going to see the demon version of Finn Balor, which pretty much set it in stone that he was going to win against Bobby Lashley. I don't think I've ever seen the demon lose. The way I would have booked this was we would have had announced the match between Finn Balor and Bobby Lashley, and we would have had them on Monday, get into a tussle where Bobby Lashley gets the better of Finn Balor. And then on Sunday, during the kickoff show, between one of the matches, we see Finn Balor, enter the arena or whatever. He's giving an interview about, his upcoming match. We see him get attacked by Bobby Lashley. He gets beat down big time to the point where a lot of people are worried if he's even going to make the match. Then we see, him in the infirmary or whatever, in pain or whatnot. And then the camera pans away, we come back and he's gone. He's just disappeared. And I would have left it at that. Maybe have the lights flicker or whatever. And just give the hint that, something's going to happen. And then, since this match was so late in the night, he has plenty of time to get airbrushed or whatever. And then later in the night, when we see Bobby Lashley out there, he's out there talking. Leo Rush is out there on the mic saying, hey, where's Finn? Where's Finn? And then the lights go out, and we get a huge, long introduction with the Demon. The Demon should have been a surprise for the audience. It should not have been announced ahead of time. Demon comes out, kicks ass, wins the match. Boom, it's over. That's the way they should have booked it, in my opinion. That would have been a lot more fun. Having him, doing all this stuff beforehand was very, very corny and very lackluster. Anyway, the match itself, I have to give, 3 stars. Simply because, once again, the ending was pretty much telegraphed ahead of time. Very few surprises here and so far in WrestleMania. And then here we are moving on to the main event. Alright, here we are after 7 hours of WrestleMania. We have gotten to the main event between the Raw Women's Champion, Ronda Rousey, versus the SmackDown Women's Champion, Charlotte Flair, and the man, Becky Lynch. Now, I pretty much guessed that Becky Lynch was going to win. I figured they were going to put up both titles. I have to admit, this match had an excellent build-up over the weeks between all three. The man has been beloved by the crowd. And sure enough, we get a match that was very, very well done and well executed. I have to give props to Ronda Rousey. She's gotten a lot better over the weeks and months. She's been able to increase her wrestling repertoire. She's changed, her whole gimmick from being all smiley face and everything to being, the ultimate badass and not caring. I like this Ronda Rousey a lot better. I thought it was really cool that they got Joan Jett out there to sing her entrance music. I have to be honest with you, didn't realize she was still alive, but she was out there doing her thing. That was really cool. The whole flying in a helicopter for Charlotte Flair didn't really do much for me, because, when she technically lands, she has this huge long walk all the way to the stadium, which, looked empty. So it just came off looking kind of corny. The match itself was really, really good. A lot of good spots. Ronda Rousey was acting like the ultimate badass when she was against Charlotte. She looked at her and she gave the line of the night. She said, "You chop like a bitch." That made me laugh so hard. I don't know. It just killed me. Anyway, the match was going good. It was nice. It was well paced. It was going on, and then all of a sudden it was over. And what made it even worse, it wasn't even a clean win. It wasn't a clean pin. It was going on, and this was something where I was expecting, a pin to happen cleanly, crowd all into it. Becky gets the win, but it just happens, and it happens out of nowhere. And I have to say that was probably a very big disappointing loss. I mean, win for Becky Lynch, and loss for who was it? Charlotte that got pinned. I forget. Oh no, it was Ronda Rousey that got pinned because she got her shoulders up. But it was so anticlimactic for all the things that they had done over the weeks and months that ultimately I have to say that it was very disappointing. I was very, very disappointed in how that match ended. It did not end well, and then looking at other folks' responses, they had the same response I had. Started off well, ended off very meh. WWE, it should have been a clean pin. It should have been just like the Kofi Kingston win. Should have just ended, be finished, keep going, and let Becky do her thing. But what was even worse was that as she's celebrating, they end the show. So I don't know if they were stuck with, because, the show ran over, they were stuck with time constraints or other limitations due to zoning laws. I don't know. Sometimes those things happen, when you go past midnight and noise ordinances and all that kind of crap. Who knows? But ultimately, it definitely did not end the way I had hoped. But all in all, decent match. And hopefully we'll see more of these in the near future. So, that in a nutshell is my review and thoughts on WrestleMania 35. Next year, it will be in Tampa, Florida. And hopefully, it won't be as long. All in all, a decent show. A lot of good matches. But ultimately, a very safe WrestleMania. A lot of the endings ended like one would expect or maybe predict. It was very safe. And hopefully, there was no major swerves, and I found that very disappointing. One of the cool things about WrestleMania and, wrestling as a whole is this is an opportunity to work the crowd. And there was really nothing here that really worked the crowd other than them getting the result that they wanted. From Seth Rollins to the Kurt Hawkins match to, even Becky Lynch to Kofi Kingston winning. And even to Roman Reigns, there was just nothing out there that really turned, the crowd on its head. There should have been something that should have just set the crowd off. And I wish that would have happened. But you know what? You don't always get what you want. But ultimately, like I said, it was a decent show. I wish that main event would have ended a little bit more solidly and cleanly. But, there are things that happen for reasons that we don't know. Maybe we'll hear about it later. But, all in all, decent show. I do have to say one thing about WrestleMania being over 7 hours long. Having been part of that, having attended WrestleMania both in Orlando and New Orleans, 7 hours is quite a bit of a long time, both as an audience member at the stadium as well as at home. It just is very hard to still be passionate at the seventh hour. When it starts hitting 11, 12, after midnight, and you still have, several matches to go, it is hard to still cheer for your favorite wrestler or whatever. A lot of times you still have to go to work in the morning, or kids need to go to school, and so all those factors in. So I don't know if WrestleMania needs to move to Saturdays or move to 2 days or whatever, but I understand you want to get all of your talent there and have them be part of the event. but 7 hours is quite a bit of time, and WWE is going to have to work on that, because the last thing you want is a bunch of 3-minute matches. That's even worse. So they're going to have to figure something out. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on WrestleMania. Did you like it? Did you not like it? For the entire show, I would have to give it 3.5 stars. Tell me your thoughts, post it in the comments below. And if you'd like to hear more of my thoughts when it comes to wrestling, TV, movies, whatever, hit that subscribe button. If you like what I had to say, hit the like button. If you didn't like it, hit the dislike button. It's all good. Anyway, I've gone way past the 35-minute mark. Didn't expect it to be this long, but hey, it was a long show. So I'll talk to you guys next time. And until then, peace.